recalls the rest of the paintings as well, recalls the French painters like Bonnard, whose works are described as tapestries. Now, he gave a full 45-minute lecture, and you can see I've only quoted a small bit. But I bring this because to the theme of painting and cinema, Kumar Shani is one of my oldest friends, and we were thinking about, a film on Amrita, and this is actually before our really starting doing a film. And he came to me and he said, let's do a film on Amrita. I said, yeah, we make a good documentary. You'll make a good documentary. He said, no, we have to make a feature film. And somewhere I think that the idea of the narrative, which was the moment that you could actually instill, into simple family pictures which indexically are not about stories, that you can enlarge that frame. And in some sense, in my painting, I've attempted that it works at many multiple levels of presence and absence, of a sense of life, but also loneliness. There is a positive aspect, but there's a deep melancholy as well. And if you noticed, in front of Marie Antoinette, who's Amrita and Indira's mother, I should say, because sometimes my wife says you always ignore what is your relationship. Amrita was my aunt, and Indira on the other side was my mother. That she's got a gun on the table. So death and suicide are very central, to the aspect of the life and death of this family. And the glory that Amrita Shergill got was also embedded in a deep sense of death. And the last part, which is not here, which I said my 40 years, was a 900-page book on the letters of Amrita Shergill, which are both very positive, but also deeply melancholy, and there's a great sense of tragedy in the family, economically and otherwise. This is from a series which came almost a year later, and I quite unexpectedly used the word archive, the Shergill archive. Now today, as many of you know, the word archive is now a very important and dominant theme, subject, position vis-a-vis material, the past, the accumulation of it, and how artists worldwide have been using the archive to make artworks. Anyway, I got the daring to do this because I was invited to show in Budapest, and I thought, well, there they would possibly be more open. You must remember it's the mid-90s, and Indian art is just moving out of its strongly pictorial painted image. That, how could I say, a work of art just picked up, or not picked up, but taken from Rao Singh's photographs could constitute a work of art. Now I think we've moved a lot since then, and here in this, as the title goes, is Rao Singh photographing himself, and he, from 1892 to 1948, he took well over 100 self-portraits. And then below, in the second line, you see his daughter. Now, at that time, I just came across a comment by Peter Wallen about Roland Barthes, who, as you know, loved photography, loved it as amateur, as Deepak Anand says, one who loves and loves and loves. But Roland Barthes was not very sympathetic to cinema. And Peter Wallen says he doesn't agree with that, because he says indexically, the photograph has the potential to tell a story. And I think that gave me the cue that here is a man who died at the age of 84, and here's a woman in the lower strip. In a sense, you can call it film strip, but these are all original analog pictures. And so in the way that the viewer crosses over and then finds, like, they all move to Paris, and so the set of pictures, starting from below, from childhood, etc., as it moves to Paris, in the same flat becomes, in a sense, the set for, in quotes, the movie that's taking place and being played out by father and daughter. Now, if you take self-portraits, obviously, and as you can see, Rao Singh, had a great sense of himself, a narcissism, and Amrita Shergill equally, because she's been photographed literally from the day she was born, always was there to pose and pose for her father. So the photographer is both photographer and father. And you can see that she's discovering herself, the whole family's moved there, and she's saying, okay, Papa, you now take me here, take me there, and some provocative pictures which might not, like she's wearing a swimsuit here, and you'll see it appearing again in my digital photo montages. As you'll see, there's a playful quality, but as you move further down and to the end, unfortunately, I don't have the close-ups of Amrita, but you'll see them later at the end of her life, that already in her expression, in her visage, there is already a deep sense of tragedy and melancholy, in a sense of doom, that is she going to live or not. And then Umrao Singh has also melancholy. Now I move to the next, and now we've entered the new millennium. We've entered the age of the digital, or the age of post-photography, whichever word you like to use. And I quote this wonderful, brilliant writer and curator. She's been to India a few times, and you've heard her. And I will just read this. The artist is himself a montage. He is the artist whose manipulation are a kind of dreaming, and a curator who stages the context of interpretation. He is the archivist who assembles and organizes the past, the photographer who understands that the medium is a kind of writing, the author of fictions who arrives at truth via contrivance, and the director of pre-staging scenes, and the archaeologist who breathes meaning into relics. That's me. 5 minutes. I'll need more. Sorry. Okay, I'm just going through this. There's a playful relationship again between father and daughter, which you saw, but these are digitally manipulated photographs, and they then are already with the title Retake of Amrita, implying that this is a shot from a film. And here the melancholy aspect again looms large over them at the end of their lives. And here, in a more playful way, that's the title of the central photograph, that he is surrounded by his family and their various trajectories out in other directions. I won't read Deepak Anand's text because Gayatri is a strict person who likes to keep good time. Okay, and then the historical moment, meeting in Gorakhpur. Again, I'm not going to read what's below because it's quite written at length. It's Jawaharlal Nehru and Amrita meeting in the sugar factory in Gorakhpur. And again, these are based on two photographs which you see on this side. And it's just from the basis of those two photographs, by entering into, I think this is the show you did, right? Cinema Still. All right. I did it for you.
Cinema Still.
Cinema Still, right. So I was able to, again, when you tell a lie, you tell a truth, or you penetrate or enter, and I speak equally about my own desires, as well as whatever you interject between these two persons. One, of course, is one of India's greatest freedom fighters, etc., and a very personal, vivid encounter between the two of them, where eroticism and desire and sexuality play themselves out. But at the end, I have a quote, because in 1940, Nehru went as part of the Quit India movement, and he was arrested and put into Dehradun jail for over 14 months. And in fact, they have a newspaper cutting when he's released and Amrita dies almost the same date in December 1941. Now, Indira's piano, I will now come to the last 3 minutes and 20 seconds because it's a video. And here the kind of family unit gets complete. And as I said earlier on, that my interest in still life was there, but also a thing that affected me greatly was a classic film by the great French filmmaker Chris Marker, and it was, I think, one of the first screenings of La Jetée, which was made in '62, but England always took time to receive the radical elements from across the channel. And in about 67, at the British Film Institute, I saw La Jetée, and it's a series of stills which makes a film. But of course, the difference there is that he's, as it was, shot it like a film. They aren't archival material, but the fact that a man could make a whole feature-length film on stills, somehow was always there at the back of my mind. And in a sense where you want to live the archive, relive it, animate it in some way, get into it, I decided that we've had a lot of father and daughter going on, and I will now play Indira's piano with her mother, and it is about musicality because Marie Antoinette was a pianist and a kind of opera singer, and Indira went to study piano in Paris. So we'll play the video. These are just short clips. It's a 12-minute video, and these are 4 different clips. Sorry, the sound has to be taken from the mic, but... Thank you.
Thank you. We've got another 10 minutes before the second panel comes on. And yes, I'm being strict about time because Lalit Kala shuts at 7 and we'll all be thrown out. But just a quick question to you, Vivan. In the video, you're very faithful to the images of the archive. You use them, you animate them, but you don't interject in any way. They're all recognizably images from the archive.
Yeah, I think one of the successes or the appreciation, because, you know, when I started this 12 years ago in 2001, the retake of Amrita, there were digital, always seemed, you know, advertising, you know, sort of just effect thing. And I wanted very much at one level to be faithful, you know, to the original photograph, to the material in the family. But that how could I, in terms of its visual representation be so, but when you look, then almost everybody says, but that's not quite possible, or you interjected something, or it can't quite be that this girl who's the daughter would relate to her father in this kind of way. So there's provocations already, and I think that the subtext, which I've already quite openly stated, is of eroticism, desire, and incest in a manner of speaking, because both, have really got very locked into each other. And then, of course, it allows many other